You're listening to Life Aquarian, a soul's journey through the human experience. And now, here's your host, Leanne.
Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of Life Aquarian. This is Leanne, and I am so excited to be sharing the conversation that I recently had with the incredible Africa Archield, a transformational coach, teacher, technical guru, and spiritual guide. Africa opens up about one of the most difficult moments in her life and how she was able to transmute that unimaginable pain into joy, healing, and purpose. Africa is also going to be sharing some actionable steps for tapping into the energy of manifestation, and she has an exclusive offer just for Life Aquarian listeners that she is going to be sharing at the end of the show. Without any further ado, here's my conversation with Africa.
Welcome to the show, Africa. We met in the business world, working for the same client, and something that you and I have uniquely in common is that we're both spiritual coaches who use our technical skills to support other women in the personal development space. Or at least that's what we were both doing at the time. So I knew after meeting you, you've been really one of my most favorite people to work with. You came into my life at a time when I was learning a new platform that was very confusing to me, and you were a master at that. And the more I began to peel back these layers of you and who you are and your expertise and education and just your whole background, which I don't even know the full scope of, I was like, I want to learn more and I want to know more, but I want to record the conversation as I'm asking these questions because I feel like it's going to be helpful to other people, and I want other people to know you too. And that's what I thought when I met you, is like, I want to know her better and I want other people to get to know her too, because that's really what the premise of my podcast was about when I started it back in 2010 when I was going through my spiritual journey. Wow. It was about, and I haven't been consistent that whole time, but that's when it started. And I would invite people on who I met along my path and my journey who inspired me in some way. And you are one of those people. So I am so interested to know all about you, starting with, I want to start with your background, like your career background. And I'll start there first, and then we'll get into the spiritual stuff. So can you tell me a little bit about your background as I sip my tea?
Well, yeah, definitely sip the tea, because I'm going to spill some tea here.
I had a feeling.
The first thing I want to say is, Leanne, I'm so honored to be even asked to come on the podcast. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am looking forward to this. I think we're going to have a blast, because I like just doing a little bit of chit chat. My career background. How far do you want to go back? As my children say, I'm aged.
Wherever you would like to take me, I am here for it. I am strapped in and ready to go.
Oh my goodness. Okay, we're just gonna go back to what I call my first real job, right? I was in college my last semester, pregnant, and my then ex-husband, who I'm still hanging out with, said, hey, they need some tutors over here at the community college. And he goes, you're really good at tutoring people. So I waddle in there, and I'm thinking, this lady isn't going to hire me. She did hire me. And I immediately, as she said, yeah, I want you to start da-da-da, I went right in the office, out cold. I needed sugar because I was pregnant and I hadn't eaten all day. So someone go get me orange juice or whatever. She understood what was happening. I didn't understand what was happening. She's like, you need to consistently eat. And I was like, oh. So I started working there. The head of the department wanted me to essentially become a teaching assistant for her, a TA. And so that spring, I was TAing classes. I was working as a tutor. And that fall, I just graduated from college. That fall, I started teaching. I taught
Wow.
ed for 25 years.
Now, what did you teach?
I taught, what didn't I teach? I taught writing classes. I taught study skills classes. I taught reading classes. And I taught like life classes. I forgot what they called it. These are at different universities. I also taught English, rhetoric, and composition. But these are at different colleges and universities. All the other. Yeah. So that was like how my teaching career birthed. And that's really where that came from. Uh, the technical stuff also kind of happened. It coincided. I had been programming with punch cards when I was in 7th grade. So like way, way, way back when. And then by the time I was, now teaching at the community college, they were opening up a computer lab. And so I helped with the computer lab. And so I just got more and more involved in the tech. And then at a different community college, I ran all the community computer labs for a campus. I was in charge of all the techs. And I just kept with that technical expertise. I would go and wire other people's houses and stuff like that to set their computer networks and different companies. I just became like a tech geek. So that all kind of went together. And then because at the community college, you're never, or really when you teach, it's hard to get a full-time job teaching in higher ed. Don't know why, it just is. I think it's just enrollment. So it's better to keep everyone part-time. So you're always doing something else, right?
Okay.
So for me, I was teaching, I was doing some random tech stuff. And then my father got into mortgages. So I was in the mortgages for over 10 years.
I did not even know that about you.
Yeah. So I did, obviously, just your basic, I want to buy a house kind of thing, as well as I want home equity, helping clients get business credit and business commercial deals and all sorts of things. So yeah, that's kind of what I would call my working career. But then when I was helping, so I'm just coming now back into the coaching. One day I was helping this lady set up her mortgage office. She was new into town and she heard I was a person to get help getting set up. I was really good with the regulators. I was friends with a lot of regulators at the state level. So I'd help people with audits and stuff like that, set up their systems. And I got her all set up. And then she was talking to me and she's like, you know what? I think you need to coach me and my husband. I was like, what? What's a coach? What are you talking about, lady? She's like, no, we're having some problems. I think you need to coach us.
Wow.
And so I was like, I don't even know what she's talking about. She's like, but you're really good at talking to people and helping them with their problems. I've watched you do it all this time. And I'm like, are you saying I could get paid for helping people work through stuff like this? She's like, yeah, we're going to pay you. I was like, I found my passion. I found where I belong. And that's when I started coaching. And it flowed from there. But I just didn't even know that's something people paid for. I just thought that's, they didn't need a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a social worker. They just need someone to listen and help them move through things, talk better together. And so I started coaching. And I'm still friends with this lady till today. She is now like my best friend.
Oh, that is so cool. So when did you start to really tap into your spiritual and intuitive gifts? I forgot to turn my phone off. I'm going to do that now. When did you start tapping into that?
Okay, so understand that I am in a family of ministers. My grandfather had a huge church. My father now is pastor of that church. My uncle had his own church. That's just the one side of the family. My parents divorced when I was 6 months old. So the other side of the family is evangelical.
Mm. Okay.
So, and I went to Catholic school. It's like I get this whole mix. But I would say the first time I can remember tapping into something that I didn't quite know what it was, I was probably like 4 or 5. And I think for whatever reason, my mother got invited to something like a seance. And she took me because another lady who invited her was taking her daughter. And we were just playing, but we both were just like, I think we both felt something, but we didn't know what it was.
Mm.
And after that, my mother didn't talk to that lady, and I wasn't allowed to talk to that little girl. But that's here nor there. So whatever happened probably spooked her too. Fast forward, and so I should say trigger warning here. Fast forward to, remember I said I was pregnant when I got that job.
Mhm.
My baby passed when she was 6 weeks old.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Which made me angry. So prior to that, I did I had, when my first husband and I were married, we were very earth-based, pagan, and so there was some tapping in there. But then after my first child passed, I was so angry that I would say, even though I had another child in this time period, it took me almost 10 years to not be angry. And during that time is where I really tapped into intuition, where I really had to find what I would say at that point was God again and reform a relationship. What I would now say is I finally completely linked into the divine, linked in with the universe, and started to see things differently. And that's literally what brought me out of depression, was that linkage. And my whole growth journey really started from there. That's where I would say I was fully tapped in. Doesn't mean that I didn't get untapped at times, because life, you can kind of lose your way and being aligned. But that was the moment coming out of that fog of that anger and depression to, oh, life can be different. Oh, I can make a choice about how life is manifesting around me. And that was really powerful. And that's when I truly would say that's when my journey began.
Do you remember what it was? Was it a book? Was it a teacher? What inspired you? What gave you that knowledge?
I think what really brought me out, I would say 2 things. One, I read A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. And, being raised fire and brimstone, everything you do, you're going to hell, yada, yada. Return to Love was very different. And it was needed. I don't know that, I forgot the source material because she was a teacher of, I can't remember, but it was really thick and I probably would have never read it. So reading Return to Love, it just made me, it helped me feel joy again, light. It helped me realize I make the decision every day to be happy or not. That is my perception and what I choose to focus on. So that made a huge difference. So that's one thing. Second thing, as I was reading that book, I ran into a lady, and this is someone I helped with her business. It was called Girlfriend Mastermind. And I would lead part of the masterminds, and just helping people through that process. That was probably the other piece that locked in for me. She had a particular process that I can't really go into.
Right.
But that really helped things cement in, where I was like, I can be true to myself. I can listen to my intuition and not be afraid of whatever this is. Not everything happens up here. which is where I was used to it. So it's very logical. But there's another place that's deeper and more authentic. It's what I tell clients, this is tapping into your knowing. Everyone has it, and it's in a different place. Like my knowing is kind of just below like mid chest, but it's not my gut, right? So some people, they know it's when I'm listening and I'm channeling, I feel it here. When I have an inkling, I feel it down here. So if you take the time to be in your body, and there's a way to get into your body if you're not used to it, because a lot of people are almost completely detached, you start recognizing, oh, when I feel this feeling in this part of my body, it means this. So
I've never even noticed. I've never really made the connection before.
that you're knowing, that's like a physical sensation of your intuition. And it's like I needed that extra kind of. Another lady I found later, she said, I know it and by knower. That was Amanda Francis. And it's like, I knew what she was talking about. I'm like, I know what you're talking about. You know it in your knower, and your knowers, everyone's knower is different.
Amanda Francis,
Mm-hmm.
like the author?
Mm-hmm.
You know Amanda Francis?
I should say I know her. I read her work. I was interviewed by her.
Oh, wow. I have
her book. Yeah, I have her, like, literally, I have her book right there.
Yeah, it's right over here.
Yeah. And she's so much fun. That interview was a blast. I just moved to California. And at the time I looked at her and I'm like, it was before we, started recording. I'm like, are you pregnant? She's like, yes, I am. This is before she announced it, that she was pregnant. Because you could just, how you could tell sometimes when people are pregnant. She was just glowing and she was so happy. And we had a similar thing that had happened where I had stayed with my children in a hotel for 9 months while we got things sorted, or I got things sorted with my current husband. And that I was afraid I wouldn't be able to support myself and my kids. I was really thinking about going into a shelter at the time. And I just kept hearing no, right? I kept hearing it here. That'll be fine. And I'm like, I'm just starting to recover my credit, which had been ruined in my first marriage. And I kept hearing things will be fine. My minivan was breaking down. And I kept just rent a car. And I'm like, I barely have credit, but I did it. It was incredible. All of a sudden, credit limits got raised. More money came in. I paid off. I'm living in a hotel, right? An Embassy Suites. And I paid off all my credit cards, right? And I'm paying for the hotel. And I'm just renting cars because I'm like, I'm not fooling with that minivan. My current husband could take care of that. I just parked it at the house and we just stay in the hotel. Living in a hotel, are you cooking? No. You're eating out essentially 3 meals a day for me and 2 kids. Wow. And I was like, where you can't be in where I want to know exactly how the money was coming in. And I just heard to trust. I got myself in 2 mouths to feed. Trust. But I did. And money just came in. I need to do laundry. Someone's like, go take it to this laundromat. They'll do it for you. I never even knew this kind of service existed. And I did. Like everything was just taken care of. And that's when I heard go to California. So we took an exploratory trip to California and roamed around for like a month.
And that's how you met Amanda? Was on that trip?
That's not how I met her. That just happens to be, I happened to have moved to California when we had the interview.
Okay. Because that's pretty freaking incredible.
And see, all of this, I'm learning for the first time.
Like I say to people, I've had a wild life, a fun life. I am appreciative for all the things now. Instead of being angry, I'm appreciative.
Wow. So I really relate to, and I know so many people can, about the 3D and the money. And then, of course, our innate programming to need to know where it's going to come from, when it's going to come, and then feel like we got to hustle to get it.
Yes.
That whole thing. And then, even though, and it feels kind of cyclical to me too, because it's like, or at least in my life, it has been cyclical, where it's been like feast. I don't want to say, but like this,
Yeah.
and then you're back in the, okay,
We're not doing a
don't
cool dance here at all. We're doing
I do like to dance though, so I like it. I like the idea of a dance. Do you have any words of wisdom? Because I actually know somebody right now who's going through this hardcore, and it's a man. And I know that sometimes it's even more difficult for them to like grasp these concepts of don't worry about the how, just trust. Do you have any words of wisdom that you would share with anyone listening to this right now who's in it?
wow. Okay. I don't want to sound cliche. I might sound cliche. First, gratitude, right? Gratitude for where we are, like right now. And that's why I said I'm not angry anymore. I'm just grateful for everything. Recently, I realized I'm walking a lot. My knee used to make it to where I couldn't even get a couple of blocks without having to sit down or it would just kind of blow up. And it's fine now. And I can walk a mile without a problem. Like to me, that's huge. I know people who walk much further, but I'm so grateful I'm able to do that now. And so I always find that there's something in your life, even it's like I woke up and I'm breathing air. Like there's something in your life you can be grateful for. And I think the most there's two other things I want to say. One, you've put in the order, essentially. Like you went to the deli in the sky. You put in the order. I think it's Neil Walsh that says that. Um, you put in the order. You're not worried that it's not going to come back. Like you put in for, ham and cheese. You're not worried it's going to come back a Reuben. It's going to come back ham and cheese because that's what you put in the order for. And you don't worry about it. You just sit down and wait for the order to come. Right. And so that's the other thing. Whatever it is that you want, you don't want money. No one actually really, really, really wants, I should say no one. Very few people really want money. They want what money can get them.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it that you want? Put in the order for whatever that is, and then stop worrying about it because worry doesn't help you. There's a lot of really quantum things we could say about that. Some just like even easy science things, regular science things you learned in school about opposites attracting and all sorts of things. And if you have a negative thing and a negative thing and the repelling. Okay, so like how can I say this so I'm making any kind of sense? When you put in the order, just know that it will come and go and focus on something else. Because your mind will make up all sorts of stories, and those stories are just delaying things. When you get into the how, you're telling the divine, I want it this way, and I'm not going to let you work it out, however, to get me what I want. So if it's what, like right now, we're in the middle of where are we going to live? Because I'm in an Airbnb right now. And in about a month or so time, we're going to move into a house, whether we buy this place, buy some other place. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. And guess what? I don't have to deal with the how. I've already put in the order for this is the kind of housing situation that I want. This is what I want my kids to have, et cetera, et cetera. it's very easy, especially when buying a home, because I've done mortgages, to hyperfixate on, we need this much money for this and this and that and that and this. And I know that's going to be taken care of. I don't need to worry about that. And I really almost, I won't say sabotage myself, but rather take myself down another little merry path that maybe I didn't want to go down. Right? Which is what we do. It's not that we don't get to our destination or we mess things. We create diversions or side quests for ourselves to go on. I don't want a side quest right now. Right? So I realized, put in the order. I'm being told over and over again, stop worrying about the house. So I stopped. They're like, oh, and by the way, we have these other things we need you to do. You need to build out your coaching community. You need to build out this platform. You need to da-da-da-da-da, right? On down the road. I'm like, but then don't worry about that. It's being taken care of. You put in your order. So if you put in worry over there, you distort what's wanted. I think I can say it this way. Whatever has the strongest emotional resonance is typically what you get. So desperation, because you're worried about what's going to happen that's wrong, is going to get you what's going to be quote unquote wrong. So if you're going to worry about something which has a strong emotional resonance, make that worry about it being wonderful, right? But but what I find is, I'm just saying, is really effective is if you get to the point of, I've envisioned what I wanted. It's very clear in my mind. I feel the feelings of all of those wonderful things. And now I no longer worry about it because it is mine. It's flowing into the 3D. I don't have to worry. That's the whole thing. And then you go do something else. And I almost think that I've been giving all these other things to do as a distraction so I don't get focused over here with the home, so that I can stay moving forward. And that's, I think, is probably the bigger thing, is your perception of what is happening. So if you perceive it to be a catastrophe, the universe, the divine, quote unquote, the 3D wants to come together and bring that to light for you so that you can be right. Right? That's you go. The universe just reorganizes things to support you. And I think the part that gets left out is it supports you in whatever it is that you're trying to project on it. So your worry projects. So what are you projecting? You're projecting what you want to perceive, and then that comes back and becomes this a loop. It's called the perception projection loop. And it's very easy to get caught into. And I'm going to tell you one of the ways to break that is gratitude, which we started out with. Another, because it starts changing how you perceive things. That's why it helps to break the perception projection loop. Because once you start seeing things differently, then different things start to happen around you. It's the same ding dang things, let's be honest. You're seeing them differently, or you're seeing other things you didn't notice before because you're wearing a different set of glasses. Right? So that's why I said, for people who are so afraid the economy is going to crash, the economy is going to do well, it doesn't matter what the economy is doing. People always do well no matter what. Perception of it.
That is a great point. That is a really good point. I was going to ask you this too. This came up. Well, so many things I'm curious about. Let's go back to your spiritual gifts, because I know that you are into astrology too, right? Like you keep up with what's going on in the cosmos and the things.
Yeah.
You kind of have your pulse on it a little bit. And so your North Node is in Aquarius. And that's what you're really here to do in this lifetime. And you were just talking about building community, and Aquarius is about community. We're in the age of Aquarius. Pluto, I mean, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Pluto just went into Aquarius. I want to talk about your community.
Yeah.
I want to talk about it. Tell all of us about the community that you've built, that you're building, and what you do in there, because it's a place where I want to be.
The community. So it's a coaching community, and I think it's very plainly named Africa's Coaching Community. It's there's nothing insanely magical about it that way. I wanted to keep it plain and ordinary because, and I really just usually call it the coaching community, because I want to welcome people in no matter what they were doing. So for the most part, most of the people in the community are business owners. Everyone in the community are women, but most are business owners. Some work for other people. What I'm looking for in that community is people who want to lead, whether they're leading in their own little pocket of the world or just leading themselves or their family, doesn't matter, or they're leading this a bigger thing. Because at this point, we are shifting, right? We can all feel that acceleration. So we are shifting. And during that shift, a lot of people are starting to feel more of their spirituality come on board. Like they're starting to light up and see what's going on around them. And so I know, or I'm a cog, and this way this is the first one, only way I'll say this. I'm a cog in the machine. There's going to be this shift that's going to happen with or without me, with or without any of us, right? But I think it's going to be a smoother transition the more of us that are on board and working together and for me, it's about shifting the socioeconomic paradigm. Mm-hmm. And so that's the movement. That's really what it's about. And we all are going to tackle it in different ways. So in the coaching community, we come together. I'm in my oracleness, answering questions. Sometimes I do readings, sometimes not. Sometimes it's just very straightforward. I need this technical business thing answered, or I have this difficult client, or this thing is happening at home. All of that. And we also have days like tomorrow, we're having a co-working day. And it's a half day where we just come together and we just bring our collective energy into a vortex and work. It's kind of, I think about like parallel play for adults. So we're just doing our own thing. And we come back and report to each other, bounce off ideas, and then go back and do something else. We have, usually about 2 sprints during the day. So we meet, say what we're going to do, check in, that kind of thing, go do the thing, come back, talk about progress, do the thing, come back and celebrate our wins. And so we do that almost this first quarter of the year. Usually I only do it twice a month, but this first quarter I was like, it needs to be every week. I was like, really? Every week? So we're going to be doing that every week. Well, we have been doing it every week. And it's a lot of fun. People get so much done. It's really a way they get to bend time. And we also in the community do a lot of personal development work. So I'll bring in pieces that I know are going to help based on what's going on. And I also have a program called the Phoenix Passage to kind of shred some of the stuff off in the fire and like burn it away so we can come back out new. And I'm taking everyone through that process right now as well. So there's a little bit going on in the community. And I think probably the biggest part is I've been trying to keep the price very reasonable. So depending on when you're hearing this, right, pricing could be different. But right now I do weekly and it's $44 a week. So I try to keep it very, very reasonable. That's a community. And it's been a blast. I love working with people in there.
It sounds like so much fun. So how long ago did you create it? How long has this been going on?
The community for me is new because I typically only really worked inside a course with a group, or I worked with people one-on-one. And I want it to be more accessible because I saw the change that's coming, and I knew, I'm like, I can't be, oh, you're gonna have to pay me, a hefty 5 figures in order to work with me. I needed to find some other way to be accessible. And this was it. And so it's only been, I say only, gosh, it's almost been a year that it's been going. Oh my gosh. This spring it'll be a year. Yeah. I just realized that this spring it'll be a year.
Yay! So exciting. You said something about, I want to go back to what you just said, where you said you started to feel and tap into the change. There were two things you said. This will be the first thing I ask you about. The change that is coming. Can you tell me in your words what you're feeling that change is?
All right. So I talked about shifting the socioeconomic paradigm. I
Yeah,
think
that was the other thing I was going to talk about. Because that came up in my walking meditation today.
okay. So the change is how we engage with one another, how we engage with the earth. I think it's no surprise that as we move out of this age where things have been, well, actually, we're sliding into authoritative tendencies all over the planet. And I'd like to say it's the last screams of patriarchy mixed with capitalism. And all of that has to flow away for us to really be in a true Aquarian age. So we're living during this transitional period. I hate saying I signed up for this, but this. Like my kiddo's tired of saying we're living in unprecedented times, but we are.
We are. We totally are.
Right? So that change has to happen some way. I wish it could happen in a snap, but everyone kind of has to be on board. And I know I said earlier it'll happen with or without us. The without us, I don't like to think about because that's not a very nice scenario. I'd rather the change happen with us. And I don't want to talk about the without us because I don't want to put it out there. I'd rather the change happen with us. So that means there's got to be more of us on board for retooling ourselves. It starts with ourselves and then spirals out to our family and communities. And then nationally, as our little ripple effects come together and start to change our governments and other kinds of authority. And I think one of the things that's going to happen too is our monetary system is going to, let me hear how I'm going to, how do I need to say this? A lot. In fact, I don't know of a monetary system that's not fiat at this moment. And that just could be my ignorance. But they all operate on fiat systems.
I don't even know what that means.
Oh, sorry. So fiat system. So I know when
this is the fiat I know.
When I was little, I thought the US dollar was backed by gold. Like there was gold at Fort Knox. And so we could only have so much money because there's only so much gold. Right? This is why I thought when I was little. Way before I was born, way before most of us was born, we moved to a fiat system, which is just the full faith and trust. Our money's backed by nothing. It's all made up. Right? That's the reality. It's all made up. And all the money in the world is essentially all made up. It's all, like I said, I can't think of one that doesn't operate off a fiat system, which is just the full faith and trust of whoever's printing the money. It's all backed by nothing. So if you look at money that way, just like circling back, if you look at that money that way, that it's just made up paper, like, ooh, I almost forgot that candle was lit. That would have been bad. Okay. I just made up paper like this. That's all it is. I could give this to you and call it money, and my full faith and trust, it means XYZ. And if everyone was using the sticky note, we would be really clingy to our sticky notes instead of to a dollar bill. It's all made up. I want to say it's all made up and the points don't matter, but that's a different show.
Well, yeah, it's pixels on the screen. Just a bunch of, it's just energy anyway. A message that came through for me this week, I was meditating and I was thinking about money, a bunch of money coming in. And then I was thinking about if I had all this money, and I started thinking about interest I would make on money in my account. And then it was like, slam the brakes. Yeah. No more. I was like, no, that's not going to be the way going forward. Interest in an account, that's not going to be how it's done. That's going away. I just felt like it was like, don't count on that, sweet pea. Invest in
and what is it? I was telling my group the other day, like you had that, and I had that we have to build networks, local networks. Most of the people I know are online, right? Because I've just been in this running the online streets for so long. But there's that build your local network. Build the local network, because maybe it's too many 80s movies, right? But being born in the, coming up in the 80s or whatever, because I wasn't born in the 80s. All this post-apocalyptic stuff of things just going down. There will be a transitional moment like that. Not exactly like that. I'm hoping that I'm not saying exactly like that, but that's the most akin thing I can go to. And being able to have, for the transition to fully be realized, there's a point where everything must fall apart.
In order to come back.
It could be built back up. Yeah. So yeah, that you had that. Don't worry about interest in that, sweetheart. Yeah, it's, what can I tell you? There's a point where everything has to fall apart, which includes your banking system. So, or our supply chains, very general. So what are you going to do? You have to be in mutual support group, local mutual support group. And building those relationships now and thinking about, like I was telling my husband the other day, he's like, why don't you go and buy a bunch of food and freeze it? And I'm like, I'd love to do that. And we're talking about it. And I was like, and when the grid goes down, we have a bunch of frozen food that goes to pot. So think 2 steps further than you have been thinking. And I hate sounding really conspiratorial, because I know I do at this moment, but take 2 or 3 steps ahead and think, how am I going to move through that part when things fall apart? And it's not like they're going to fall apart forever. They're going to come back together again and move forward. But we're living through the transitional period. That's kind of where you asked what I see, what I meant. That's what I meant.
I appreciate you sharing that with me. It's nothing to be feared. It's just something to be aware of. I found also in my notes the other day, like on January 5th, I had just written something like, a storm is coming. Be aware of it, but don't get caught in it. That was my thing. And then it's just like, I just feel like we started this year and it was just like, here's something over here and something over here. It's like a contagion. Like, I kind of expected, challenges, but I didn't expect like bam, 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 bam. And I feel like this is just a preview of the show. This is the show. Like, coming attractions for 2025.
I love that. It's a trailer. It's a trailer.
Yes, and community is definitely something. I was saying this like in December or whatever, that I was feeling like community is going to be one of the big things this year. Because really it's about us, coming together. There's so much strength in numbers. Ooh. I have one last question, businessy sort of, business spiritual mindset question.
I love the question. Yes.
Oh, we could be here all day, but I'm gonna wrap this up soon because I know I could be here with you all day. So when you started building your business and getting clients, what was the mindset or the techniques that you had? What were you thinking to bring these people in? Because you were attracting you attracted your first client. You certainly didn't chase them. They came to you and they were like, I want you.
I was very confused by it. I would say most of my business, maybe up until very recently, could I even say that, was built by referral. Or just, I would say right place, right time, but people knew what I did. They would refer me to other people, even if they didn't partake in my services. I just began, in different groups, I was known as the girl who does X, or the girl who does Y in another group, girl who does Z in another group. And different people refer me. And then once people were in my world, they're like, oh my gosh, I came for you for Z, but you do X and Y as well? And then P, D, and Q? And they would get excited and stick around even more. And so I would say gosh, probably 90% came from referrals like that. Being in different groups and having people refer me. It's only now where I'm like, I need to be a little bit more direct in getting clients and being more of an attraction factor. And for me, that's why I'm going all in on YouTube. So I'll be on YouTube more often.
And how can we find you over there? What's your channel name?
Oh, on YouTube or everywhere, anywhere on social media. It's Africa BAB. Whether Instagram, TikTok, not that I'm on TikTok almost ever, but no matter the social media platform, it's Africa BAB. So it's the same on YouTube. So I'll be there.
BAB, what does that stand for? Africa BAB. Africa BAB.
Okay, so you said you want to wrap up. Okay, so I'm going to try. This has to do with another client I had. He wanted to do a business deal, and we flew out to Florida together. This is right after 9/11, so I see getting on planes at the time. And so we flew out to Florida together. We met he was going to buy this building and do all sorts of stuff. And at the time, he's like, I want to sound like I know more than I do. And I'm like, you're already really smart. I called him a kid. He was probably 4 years younger than me, maybe 5. A kid, right? Because I'm so much older. And so right as we're about to walk into the meeting, he hands me a stack of cards. And on the card, it had his company name, my name, a position he gave me. But after my name, instead of comma MA, because at the time I had a master's degree, it said comma BAB. And I'm like, what the heck is that? But we went to the meeting, I looked over the negotiations. I was doing the financing part of it. And when we left and we're eating lunch, I'm like, what is this? And he's like, remember that story you told me about the guy you worked with at the community college and he didn't have a degree? And so y'all just made up letters for him and put it after his name? We did. because all the little mucky mucks were acting really weird. They didn't have a degree. So we just gave him some letters and, and then we said it was a really big certification and they fell for it. Anyway, so I'm like, so what's BAB? Because I actually have a master's degree. You could have put that. Oh, he's like, oh no, BAB, badass bitch.
I love it. Oh, yes.
I love that so much. I've kept it all these years.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Ooh. And so then what is your website where people could come join your coaching community? How do they get there?
Oh, okay. AfricaArchield.com.
Okay, perfect. And I'll have all this in the notes.
And I want to give something to your community too. I was thinking about it because you luckily brought up stuff about what about money, what about manifestation, all of that. I did a course on why manifestation isn't working for me.
Ooh.
So if you go to africaarchield.com/manifest, you can check that out. If you use the coupon code Aquarian, you get $10 off, which means instead of $27, so it's not a lot anyway, you get it for $17.
Ooh.
So it'll be the first 100 folks that use the code, so use it now, right? It's I love that course. But I go very much into why it isn't working, which you only kind of care about why it isn't working. But what to do to make it work is probably way more important. And I get into that 2 ways to make it work. And we already talked about gratitude, which I don't talk about in the course. I talk about 2 other ways that are for people who are very logical. It helps your logical brain get around manifestation.
Ooh, so many people need that course. So many people need it. And I know that people I'm connected to are also coaches. And I think it's helpful to be able to know how to coach people who are in that logical brain mindset. I just have one more. There's this other question I wanted to ask you too. Now learning about your background in mortgages and stuff, I wanted to ask you this. Do you think, I'm trying to think of how to ask this, because homes, right? There's this idea that there are a lot of wealthy people who aren't even buying homes anymore. They're just not doing it. They're saying it's not even a good investment anymore. What do you think about that? Do you think that that is true, or is it still viable to buy a home?
Oh, that's a good question. So one of an old mentor of mine, God, when I say old, was my kid 2, and now he's 15. So 13 years ago, maybe 13 years ago, I was in a course taught by Ramit Sethi.
That's who I'm talking about. Oh my gosh, you know everyone.
And he started cussing up a storm. It was hysterical. And then he saw my kid run by. It's like, oh my God. I'm like, dude, he can't hear you. I'm wearing headphones. And you didn't say anything I don't say. Anyway, I agree with him from the premise he's coming from. So he's like, if you're not going to be in the house more than 5 years, why are you buying it? Because you're wasting money when it comes down to all the transaction fees.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one reason I absolutely agree with him. If you're not that person who can count in all the phantom costs of owning a home, the first time I bought with my current husband, we bought the house, and maybe 5 months later, the refrigerator went out, and then the dryer went out, and then maybe 6 months later, the oven, the microwave, the garbage disposal.
Wow.
The roof needed to be redone. Like everything within that first year and a half, it was just crazy the amount of money we're spending on different things. And you think, but I'm going to buy a new house. It really doesn't matter. Things are going to happen. So it's not, when the mortgage company says you need so much in reserves, which is how much they like to see that you have in savings after the transaction's done. that's nice because it's going to be gone. Like you're going to use it probably in the first few years of owning your home. Different things are going to happen, or you're going to want to remodel something, right? The only way to recoup all that typically is to live in the home for more than 5 years. And way before we meet, back in the early 2000s, when I was doing mortgages back then, that's exactly what we tell people. If you're not going to live here more than 5 years, you shouldn't be buying. So that's just the truth of the matter. And you cannot guarantee that your house will be worth more than it is when you buy it. I think we've seen evidence of that, especially in 2008. So make sure it's actually a place you want to live, especially if you're buying it as a primary. If you're buying it for investment, so it's not your primary home, you're buying an additional property. Unless you're going to fix and flip it and know that you can incur all those transaction fees and whatever amount it is to fix up, et cetera, then you're going to be keeping it really as a rental. And then you have those same maintenance things that happen in your personal home are going to happen in the rental too. So you got to make sure you can account for that. So it's just the truth. It's the truth of home ownership. So if you don't like all that, rent. Bounce around from Airbnb to Airbnb. I mean, we've done that for almost a year. So
Thank you. I'm glad
a year.
Yeah. Wow. And I know that has its own challenges too.
But if you're, I mean, like I said, I lived in a hotel for 9 months. It can happen. And sometimes that's better because again, you don't have to worry about it. When we had our huge freeze in Texas and no people didn't have electricity, I was living in a hotel, and guess what? They had backup generators.
Wow.
Walking to the hotel so they could have somewhere warm to stay.
Yeah, I was one of those people who's without stuff. Okay, that's really cool. I'm glad I asked you that because then we've been, it's just interesting how we're connected to a lot of the same people, because I also want to share this thing before we go. I had been thinking about you, and then I had started writing an email to you to be like, Africa, will you let me interview you for my podcast? And I started writing it, and I got distracted, and I left it in draft. And then 2 days later, I'm watching a YouTube video, and she's like, if I have any readers, say you're a reader in the chat. And then she said your name, and I'm laying in bed watching it, and she said your name. I didn't even see the chat. I was like, what? Crazy. So then I'm like, okay, I'm reaching out. I'm sending the message. I'm not leaving it in draft. This is definitely the universe saying, talk to her now. And it's so cool how something. It's just really cool.
Yeah.
I love it. So thank you for spending your time with me today.
So much. You have no idea. This was great. Thank you for listening to the nudge to invite. And I thank the universe, I thank the divine for pulling us back together again, because this has been amazing.
Me too. And, if you're feeling called, like, Africa does it all. Her coaching community, she can give you life advice. She can give you business advice. She can give you, y'all, if you are trying to build your coaching platform, if you're doing funnels, if you're like setting up your email, all the stuff, she knows how to do all that. She knows how to design the pages, everything. She knows all of it. So it's like everything that you could imagine for your business or your life right here. Here's your resource.
Thank you. Renaissance woman.
I know. I love you so much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in and sharing your beautiful energy with me today. Remember, if you feel called to dive deeper into manifestation and aligning with your desires, Africa's mini manifesting course is available to you. with a special discount of $10. You can just use the code Aquarian at checkout and you'll find the details in the show notes, or you can visit africaarchield.com/manifest. And if you loved this episode, it would really mean so much to me if you took a moment to like it, review it, share it with friends or your community. And I'd love to connect with you. If you want to connect with me, find me over on Instagram. I'm Life Aquarian over there. Or you can find me on Facebook, Life Aquarian 1111. I'd love to hear your thoughts and continue this conversation. So, until next time, keep shining brightly and stepping boldly into who you truly are. So much love.